What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about PlayStation and the week that they're having. Now, this week, may I just say to, begin this video, what a freaking week with EA out there doing AI and putting ads in their games, or eventually going to be putting ads in their games. Xbox, obviously, we've talked a lot about that on this specific channel, but PlayStation also kind of quietly not doing some great stuff, and I don't think we can just let them off the hook, right? It seems like everybody's just messing up this week, and so we got to talk about it. And so what do we have? Well, it's really two different things. There's a Helldivers kind of arc, and then there's a Ghost of Tsushima arc, and the Ghost one has really only just begun, right? The Helldivers one, at least we thought originally, was kind of winding down. Maybe there's just like one more subplot that needs to, kind of play out in the arc, but it's getting there. So you know what? Let's handle Helldivers 2 first. And, the reason why this is part of it is simply because those countries, I believe 177, and I think they added 3. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that, but I did see some people saying that online where they actually added a few more countries to that list. Still can't get the game. It's still delisted there. So people are definitely going in a lot of directions with this, and I don't know if I feel like super confident making an absolute declaration, because ultimately we don't know. We've basically heard that there's still talk to get these countries back, right? Like there's still people fighting within Arrowhead, and hopefully eventually these countries can come back. But right now, it does look like a little bit of like an underhanded kind of move by PlayStation. I think that's one way that people are running from it, because if you see like the chain of events, right? You had the massive review bombings and the refunds and all that stuff, right? Now, really, at least the review bombings absolutely stopped. Like, I think there's actual statistics to show you that once PlayStation put out that tweet, and I think it was last Sunday, right? Or maybe last Saturday. Once they put it out, it really started to reverse itself. You saw the negative reviews going away, and you saw the positive reviews coming back. And, it went from overwhelmingly negative or whatever. It changed the wording. And now Helldivers 2 isn't so much impacted. And the actual legality of what PlayStation said, that seems to be set in stone, right? Like, they're not going to make you link the accounts, which is what people wanted. But I almost feel like it was two parts, and one part is right now kind of been forgotten about. Well, what about those countries? Like, they still got the game. They were still able to get the game up until this point, or I guess up until maybe like a week and a couple days ago, right? They got the game. You took it away from them. They were doing the refunds. They were doing the review bombings. You took it away because of the PSN linking thing. You stopped that part, and that's what people are saying. Like, they stopped the reasoning why they got rid of these countries, but they didn't reinstate the countries, at least not yet. So it is interesting. Again, I don't want to be too harsh on it, because they did announce like they're not doing it, that you don't have to do it, right? And so as of right now, it's like, okay, there's just one piece to the puzzle left. And look, don't get me wrong, it's a huge piece, right? Like, it is many, many people, and people that in a way, well, actually, you can just say it for what it is. They got the game was removed from them from a certain reason, for a legitimate reason, like it was a specific reason, right? That reasoning was taken away, but the game is still not playable. So that's not right, and that absolutely needs to be fixed. Now, that's part one. Part two is we go over to Ghost of Tsushima, and it's not over. In fact, again, it's just beginning, because this game, I believe, comes out May 16th, right? So it comes out this upcoming week. It is going to get loud. It's going to get, I imagine it's going to get bad. And the reasoning is, well, what's the actual news story? So I think it's the same countries. I'm not 100% sure if it's the exact same, but it's many, many, many similar countries from Helldivers to Ghost of Tsushima. Oh, before I get too far, it was also confirmed that it is PlayStation that's been doing this, or Sony. It's not Steam itself that did this, or Valve. It was PlayStation. But going back to Ghost, and this does kind of tick me off, because this is an outright lie. You know what I mean? Like, don't say these kind of things if you're not going to do it. Ultimately, if things are the way they are, as long as you like are consistent and say it from day one, you can still be mad. I'm not saying that, but at least they said it. At least they've been consistent. For Ghost of Tsushima, it was a couple things, right? But the basis of it was, okay, in order to do Legends, in order to do the multiplayer, you're going to have to link that account. So if you don't want to do Legends, you can still get the game. You can do the single player part, but you're not going to be able to do the multiplayer part, right? And it's like, all right, well, again, like, if you tell people that early on, and that is the statement, that is what you can complain, you can not be happy, you can not buy it, but at least you know the situation. Well, what's going on now is PlayStation either they didn't tell the truth or something happened legally or back-end wise. Something clearly did happen, though, because the game is again being removed from those that pre-ordered it that are in the select countries, that are in the countries that aren't able to link it with PSN. Now, why is that an issue? The game is being removed, not Legends, not part of the game, the whole game. Now, again, there could be some legal stuff there where it's like, well, maybe they can't sell the full game and then part of it is literally blocked by this PSN thing. Like, if you're going to sell it, you need to have the full game accessible or none of it accessible. And if none of it is, then you have to take the game out. That's the only thing I can think of. Because it's like Ghost of Tsushima on PC is not going to explode in the same way that Helldivers 2. It's not even going to come close, right? And I guess what I'm rationalizing, maybe PlayStation looks at it and says, maybe we can get away with it. I don't think so. I honestly would almost back them in the case, not like, I'm going to bow down to PlayStation, but in the sense of, I do think they know they messed up with Helldivers. I think they know people are not happy with it and that they need to change it. I think there might, it's a possibility that they could say, well, Ghost is smaller, it's going to go more under the radar, we're going to pull the same tactic, and maybe people just won't care, right? Because they're probably going to get it for the single player, it's not going to matter. But I just, honestly, my own prediction is that's not the case. I would maybe lean into the legal thing where it's like maybe you can't sell the full game, in which case, it's easy to say separate them. Instead of one SKU or one product or whatever you want to call it, right? Like whoever makes these decisions, maybe you split it up and you have Ghost of Tsushima and then you have Legends. Literally, in terms of purchasing it, they are literally separate. So you could buy one but not buy the other. But the thing is, you can't buy Legends without buying, So you need to get the first part of it, the base, and then you can get Legends separate from it. It's easier said than done. I say that that's probably the way around it, but that's not the way they're doing. I believe it's the director's cut, right? So it's the full, everything's in it. Everything's in it. And maybe everything can't be in it, and maybe that's the problem. But because of transparency and lack of transparency, you don't know. So you know what? If you want to come at me and say, no, PlayStation's just being evil, they're going back on their word, which they could be. But ultimately, even if everything happened exactly as it has, right? Nothing was changed. If they just said from the beginning, again, it would not be a good look, and I don't think people would like it, and you would still probably want change there, right? But if you said at the beginning, it's all or nothing. You need to link the account. Technically, you only need to link the account for the multiplayer, but guess what? It's part of the base game. You need the account linking for the entire game. And, that's just the way it is. Not cool, because a lot of it's single player, and you shouldn't need to link your account to play a single player game, but at least they would have said it early on. Instead, in a way, this is slightly worse than Helldivers. Helldivers also had it, right, in the fine print, but people were saying, well, they kind of changed the language of it. It's better than that, but it's also worse than that. Ghost, they were clear. They were clear on what was going to happen, and that's good. That was better, I would say, than Helldivers. But the issue is that something messed up. Either they lied or maybe something in the back end messed up or whatever happened, something messed up. So while they were more clear about it going in than technically they were for Helldivers, it actually has, I think it's almost worse because you said a certain thing very clearly, very easy to understand, and then you're removing the game from people that got it in those territories, and they shouldn't need it to be removed. And as people are actually pointing out in a pretty funny and sad way, it's kind of funny, but only if you look at it in a depressing way, Japan is one of those territories. So it's oh my God, Japan, Ghost of Tsushima. You're telling me anybody that lives in Japan cannot get this game? That, on PC at least, right? That is insane. That's absolutely insane. Some people are saying that maybe because it's a different system for PSN, so maybe that's not entirely true. We'll see how it goes. Again, the reason I want to bring this up now on a Saturday, right? It's only begun because the game's not out yet. And when the game does come out, you're going to have the opportunity for reviews, and you're going to have the opportunity for, just people. I think people will be more vocal about it as it gets closer. I'm not telling people I'm not saying to be vocal or not to be vocal. You do whatever you want to do, but I just feel as this week goes, it's going to get more loud, and the story has just started. Because I think more people will hop on it, and there'll be more narratives attached, and things will probably start to change, or there'll be like a new way of looking at it, let's say, right, by like the middle to end of this week. So gonna be interesting. Maybe last week was Xbox's week, maybe this week is PlayStation's week again. I guess Helldivers, it was PlayStation's week 2 weeks ago as well. It just keeps going back and forth, I guess, right? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.